All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Land to Mentorship. So this video came out 2 days ago about a record number of Americans carrying credit card debt that they can't pay off. So let's watch this and then let's review paying off debt with Velocity Banking.
A record number of Americans are now carrying credit card debt that they can't pay down. According to a joint report from the think tank, the Century Foundation, and the advocacy group Protect Borrowers, roughly 111 million people were unable to pay off their monthly balances in 2025. That represents half of all Americans who have a credit card and 40% of the population. That's a lot. In
What?
total, those cardholders carried more than $1 trillion in debt month to month, the
40%.
report found. CBS News Money Watch reporter Megan Cirillo joins us now. Megan, it's always great to have you.
All
These
right.
fine
Well, that's insane. 40% of the population. You know, it's a crazy world we live in because, when you step outside your house, everybody looks so happy. They look really happy. Everything looks like it's going great. Social media looks great. And then you look at the statistics, and a lot of people are struggling. And one of the reasons why a lot of people are struggling is because they have too much debt, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Velocity banking. So, what is it? Basically, a debt payoff strategy where you throw all your money into debt using something called a line of credit. And this is an old example that I had where someone makes about $10,000 a month after taxes. In fact, I looked up how much is about $10,000 a month, and in Georgia, that's about $180,000 gross salary. So if you make $180,000, then you make about $10,000 a month after taxes. So, um, yeah, actually, is it 10,000? Yeah, $10,373 monthly. And so we're just going to assume we make that much. And, there are plenty of people out there who make, a lot of money coming in and then they got all that money coming out, right? So we got a lot of debt, auto loan, student loan, mortgage. And so all of our expenses that are not related to debt is about $2,200. And so if you have all this debt, right? All these credit cards, auto loan, student loan, mortgage, and on top of that, your personal expenses about $2,200 a month. Where does that leave you here in this situation? Penny over or left over. So if you make $180,000, what's funny is that the median income in this country is about 60 grand. You literally make about 3 times the median income, but because you make more money, especially as an employee, the more taxes that you pay, right? They call it marginal tax brackets. And so if you don't know what I mean by that, I don't know what I mean either. I'm just repeating stuff I heard on the internet. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so basically you pay more money in taxes every extra dollar that you make, right? And so with velocity banking, we're just going to change our paradigm of how we pay our debts, right? So let me go ahead and copy our expenses. And here's the number one step to doing velocity banking. Step one is that you don't save money, right? So this is kind of like the opposite of what Dave Ramsey would teach you, which is you got to save up to $1,000 first before you pay off debt, right? And if you're having a penny left over because you have all this debt, saving $1,000 is going to be incredibly scary. So what velocity banking is about is not segregating your income and dumping all your income into debt. And we use something called a line of credit to help us do this. So if you've never had a line of credit, think of it as like a credit card, but a little bit more flexible where you could use it to pay anything you want. So with a credit card, you can't use it to pay anything and everything, right? So sometimes you can't use it to pay loans. You can't use it to pay your mortgage, although there's plastic.com, right? So we have our credit cards here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a formula called the cash flow index. So all it is you take the debt amount, divide it by the payment, and then it's just going to give you a ranking system. And so what you do is you take this number, right, and you rank it from lowest to smallest. So this ignores the interest rate, and the idea is that the lower the number, the more bang you get for your buck for paying off the debt, right? So would you rather pay $30,000 for $1,000 of cash flow, or would you pay $350,000 for $1,000 of cash flow, right? So that's what the high number represents. So what we're going to do is take these low numbers, move them into a line of credit, right? We're going to move them into a line of credit. So maybe like a $200,000 home equity line of credit or something like that. Now, here's the thing, right? And this is what a lot of people don't understand about banks is that if you have all this debt, a bank is not going to give you a free and clear $200,000 line of credit. And why is that? It's because banks don't lend money to people who need it. So the reason I'm showing you this is because if you know the strategy from the beginning, it would have been a lot easier to never even get here, right? But it's kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice to have it, but banks never going to give it to you because banks don't lend money to people who need it. But let's just assume that someone did give you a lifeline, right? Free and clear line of credit, okay? And so what do we do here? Well, basically, we just move the low ranking cash flow index numbers into the line of credit, and then we'll see that even though we're not saving money, this number will magically go up. So how much debt is this? Well, let's go ahead and sum it up. So 5, 8, 15, 27, 30, 5, 8, 15, 27, 30. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sum it up. It's 170,000, so let's just move $170,000 of credit card debt into the line of credit, okay? And basically, right, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because obviously these credit card interest rates are extremely high, and if we move into an 8% line of credit, it's just going to really increase our cash flow. And if we do that, let's just see what happens. So this is going to be 0.000000000, and look at that. We literally went from a penny to $5,655 and a penny, right? So it's like didn't make more money. Expenses are pretty much the same, right? Because we still have to pay for our expenses. We just did a balance transfer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do the final step, which is going to put our entire paycheck into the line of credit, take our expenses out, and then this number should decrease this line of credit balance every single month, which is our cash flow. So really, it's just a mindset shift. We're not doing anything special other than we're not saving money and then using our line of credit to consolidate our debts, right? And so here we're encountering a phenomenon called segregation of income. So what is segregation of income? It just simply means that when your paycheck comes in, it just gets splits all over the place, right? And what we're doing here is we're just consolidating some debt and then putting all our paycheck in one place so that we don't have to split our money all over the wazoo, right? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Now, what we're going to do is calculate the next month's balance. So really easy. Hold on, I2 plus 1. So here what we're going to do is take the next month's balance, or previous month's interest minus our cash flow number, 5665655.01. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to take the average daily balance because that's how they calculate the interest in any sort of credit product, credit card, line of credit. Amortized mortgage, it's almost the same thing, but it's kind of not, but you could kind of assume it is. And then you divide by 12. And then now what we do is that we just copy and paste and whoa, take a look at that, right? That, makes our lives so much easier. And then we see that, in the beginning, we were quote rich and broke, and now we're doing okay. So in 34 months, which is less than 3 years, our line of credit is free and clear, right? And so now that our line of credit is free and clear in 34 months, so what we do is just write a milestone here, 34 months, 170K, bam, 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 and that was so easy, okay? So that was really easy, and I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this. And then now we have the auto loan, the student loan, and the mortgage. And now, how do we know what the balance of these are? Well, basically, we have a calculator, right? So let me just kind of do this right here. And is this the right balance? So 22, 85, and 350. Yep. So what we do is write 34 months, and then just use the same cash flow index, right? So same formula, balance divided by payment. You take the lowest number, gives you most bang for your buck. So now what we're going to do is move this loan into the line of credit. So plus 9939.15, right? And then so now what happens here? Well, basically this turns to 0, right? this turns to 0, and our cash flow is now over 6 grand. Okay, so now we've done that here. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste. And then this is gonna be 6050.32, right? And then, wait a minute, did I do that right? Yeah, I think I did that right. Okay, so now we see, and it didn't really make that much of a difference, but we see that in two months that auto loan is paid off. And then now what's next? So next is our student loan. So 36 months, that'll be 192K. And then now we have our student loan and our mortgage. So let's just do this 0, 36, 36. And then now what we do is we take our student loan, and I wouldn't necessarily do this with the student loan, just because it has a higher cash flow index number. So when you have a lower interest rate um, uh, credit product, like a loan, and then you move it into a line of credit, you might not have, let's say, as much savings as you hope you would, right? And this is especially true with 30-year mortgage. So if this is 3% and you have a very high cash flow index, which means you have and this is a 50-year mortgage. Do they even have 50-year mortgages? I know Trump was talking about that. So did they implement 50-year mortgage? I want to know. UBS. I don't think it's been implemented, but if we did decide to pay off a 50-year mortgage, it would just, we don't want to move the entire thing into a line of credit is my point. But anyways, so let's just do this for now. I'm going to move this into a line of credit. And the reason I might do that is just because I'm lazy. I don't want to have to think about another payment. And the interest rate is very close to the line of credit interest rate, 6 and 8. I think it was 8%. Yeah, 8%. Okay, so now let me go ahead and copy this. Whoopsie. So this is going to be plus 64597.37. 597.37. All right, and so now what happens here? We get an extra $900 back in our cash flow. And then now our cash flow is about 7 grand. And let's go ahead and pay this sucker off. 6994 point, or 6994. And then I'm going to copy and paste. And then we see that in 45 months, student loans paid off. So now this is 0 at 45 months. Okay, and then now it's 192 plus 45, so 237K. And then now at 45 months, what's the value of the 50-year mortgage, right? And so here, this is the term, right? 50 years. And so the longer the term, the more this cash flow index number goes up. And it's something you have to kind of know the nuances of, about like what the difference, like how a mortgage works. And there's really three factors that control the mortgage: original balance, interest rate, and the term. And a lot of people don't understand, the longer the term, the more interest you end up paying, but the payment amount goes down. So a lot of people get really confused by that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this balance right here, 338,000, okay? And we could do one of two things. What we can do is we can just take all of our extra money in our savings and put it into the loan, right? They call that extra payment. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? In fact, if you could do that, just go ahead and do it, right? Another way you can do it is something called chunking. So chunking is just taking a piece of the loan and moving it into the line of credit. And so the main benefit of this is just not segregating your income, right? And the most important thing is that we have to pay the mortgage last. So if you have all this debt and then you're thinking, man, I should pay off the mortgage first because it's tied to my home. Oh, according to the math, and again, math is different from what you consider to be valuable emotionally, which so a lot of people might think I should pay off my home first because it's tied to my residence, right? But if you just look at the math, you should pay it off last because you get less bang for your buck for paying off your home, right? So let's take a look here. So 338,000 is the is the balance. And then luckily we have this velocity banking calculator here. So all I got to do is just essentially just copy and paste the current balance here. And I think I have everything correct, but let me just see here. So 338, let me see. Did I do this right? Yeah, 338. Okay. And then let's see if this is the correct income and expenses. 10, 320, 92, right? And then let's take a look at, yeah. So the expenses is everything except for the loan you're trying to pay off. And this chunk amount is just a small amount, let's say comparable to your income, that you can just use and move over to the line of credit. So how would this look like in this version of the spreadsheet? Well, you're just moving, let's say 11,000 over and over again. So plus 11000, and then you just kind of do it over and over again, right? So you've quickly paid off that 11 pretty quickly, and then you just pay it off really quickly, right? Which is about, in this case, 3.8 years. See? So again, not that hard as long as you have the income and you're able to control your expenses and just kind of consolidate your debt and pay it off over and over again. Now, I guarantee you, one of the reasons a lot of people can't pay off this debt is because um, they feel like they need to save money. And another reason is everything's getting so expensive too, right? I don't know if you ever seen gas prices, and I remember like going to a grocery store and buying like two or three things. Like, why does this cost so much, right? So it's just there's a very variety of reasons, but I think one of them is that people feel like they have to save money, right? All right, well that's it for today. So let's see how long this took. So 45 months plus 3.8 years. So it took us 3.8 years to pay off the mortgage. So this would be 45 divided by 12 plus 3.8. And that's 7.55 years. And then we're debt free. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that was easy. Well, and here's the thing. I know that most people don't even make anywhere close to this, but actually, let me just do this. Average household income. And the average household income is 83 grand. So let's just do 83K Georgia after tax. So that's about $5,000 a month. So if you want to see the average person's scenario, you would cut this in half, $5,000. Yeah. And also, I think some expenses are probably going to still be fixed. Like this is good rent, right? Like this is reasonable rent. And I think this would be an average person's expense. I don't know. Anyways, all right, well, that's it for today, folks. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. And I'll probably make more videos about how you got to join the cult. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.